Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining another one of our Coffee Break Technology series. Happy to have you join us here as we wrap up 2021, or start the month to wrap it up. Really excited to talk about technology trends for small-sized businesses as we head into a new year. And I'm joined by Paul Hager this morning. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Jeff.
Paul's our Director of Solutions here at Elevity, and among many other things, his role is to always have his ear to the ground of what's coming next for technology, and businesses kind of made a career out of being a bit of a futurist as it relates to technology and helping our clients see what's around the next corner. And he leads a team, we call it our Emerging Solutions Evaluation Committee, that is always looking at latest trends and tools. I think you've heard some of the outcomes of that as we've released new products and new solutions. And trying to determine what will have the most impact on our clients. One of our kind of core tenets is, we love technology, we love the new shiny thing, but not to deliver technology to our clients unless it has a business impact, unless it really will help them move them forward towards achieving their goals. And Paul really leads that charge for us. So we want to talk about some of those solutions for mid-sized businesses. And before we maybe start talking about the difference between, or about the solution for mid-sized business, let's just define the difference between the two. And we defined a small business, maybe 20 to 100 employees, kind of the way that we focus on it, as part of our area that is focused on by our managed group, our managed clients, where we provide fully managed technology, all things needed to make sure that technology works functionally. And we have another group that focuses on organizations above 100 employees, that is part of our co-managed, our mid-market group. And we feel that both groups need the same types of technology management, security, strategy, solutions, support, but we being Elevity, may not provide all of those things. We may provide pieces of those because they have other resources and other talents to help them do that. Whereas the fully managed clients on the small side need somebody to do all of it. And so we take care of all of those things on an outsourced basis. So with that kind of definition, with some maybe perspective on that, we want to talk about what's new, what's coming, what are some of the big things that are out there. So Paul, what are the things that are, you see moving and shifting out in the space? We always talk a lot about cybersecurity. What's going to be new in 2022 as it relates to cybersecurity?
Sure. Yeah. And I know people who have joined these talks before are like, oh boy, they're talking about cybersecurity again. It's a Friday. And I get that. But reality is we're just responding to what we see as far as trends. And I think anybody that's joined us today that has gone through a cyber insurance renewal or talked to their cyber insurance carrier lately, it's not just us. It's not just the technologists that are saying this is a problem. It's not just the headlines that you read every day. But really some of the, bellwethers and canaries in the coal mine, if you will, in the insurance industry for cyber insurance in particular, they are drastically changing not only the pricing, but the requirements. We just got involved in a evaluation of an M&A transaction, something that maybe people don't realize we do, but we get brought in to be expert consultants in very confidential pre-closure due diligence, because if you were acquiring a business, wouldn't you really want to know where all of your risks are? And one of the areas where you can take on risk these days is acquiring a company that has an immature technology management plan or solutions in place, in particular cybersecurity. We're starting to see even M&A deals require that they either have cybersecurity or cyber insurance, or be eligible to get cyber insurance, which means here's the list of cybersecurity solutions you're going to need to have in place. And that's because insurance is starting to pay out large sums in all these security events. And that's ultimately going to trickle down into that industry hiring experts to better understand what they need to have and what they need to require you to have from a cybersecurity perspective. So we could quote all day statistics about the rise in ransomware being over 70% during the pandemic, the new variants of technology being used. We could talk about the fact that there's a growing small business market when it comes to criminals, and how they're using affiliate programs and different financial tools all around cryptocurrency to be able to grow their organized crime businesses substantially, which make them better positioned to be able to launch more attacks from more parts of the world even easier. But ultimately, it comes down to what is the right set of co-managed solutions that are going to help your business move forward. That's why we announced our strategic partnership with Arctic Wolf and their SIM and SOC. We think that you need to put best-in-class tools across your whole environment. You need to put the best locks on every single door, but you also now it's not optional. This MDR, manage, detect, and respond. It kind of moving forward in your co-managed security chain, right? It used to be enough to say you had antivirus, and then it used to be enough to say that you had email security, and then it used to be enough to say that you moved from antivirus to EDR, enhanced detect and response solutions. And what we see is that that's not enough. You need to move to manage, detect, and respond, or MDR solutions, and that's where co-management of that offering in partnership with Arctic Wolf, strategically with your business, we think best positions you to be aware of what's going on in your environment. And then if a bad day were to happen, we hope with our whole stack that doesn't, but the reality is we have to assume it's always possible, that they can play back the critical log files and give the answer to your business and your insurance company as to what happened, where they've been, what data they exfiltrated or tried. Because if you can't answer that, your insurance company is going to make you assume it's a complete and total breach and a complete loss. And that's when we start to get into really big numbers, both cost financially to your business and potentially to your business's reputation when you have to make public statements about the security events that you have had. So this is really where we're at from a security perspective. The other big word that is on trend right now is zero trust. And so we talked about it a little bit in the approach to zero trust that Windows 11 brings in a previous coffee break. But for now, take the buzzwords out of zero trust and just assume when I say zero trust, I mean protecting the identity. That really what bad guys are trying to get at is a valid login with too much access to too much stuff. And so that means we need to be focused on MFA technologies, VPN technologies, and tailoring those solutions to function on a least access basis, and much, much less of using standard user logins with no MFA that have access to an entire shared drive of information in which they only use 10% of that on a daily basis. That's the stuff that we used to work in IT that we can't deem acceptable anymore, given the amount of attacks that are going on.
Yeah, and I think taking a look at how insurance providers are approaching this, to your point, maybe the canary in the coal mine, we have been talking about cybersecurity as an important thing. But when the insurance companies are starting to demand it, that's because of the losses that they've incurred and the actuarial work that they're doing to say we have to limit our exposure. And in order to do that, we have to require that there's an increase in these types of services. So it is not the cybersecurity industry is coming up with all of these things as great things to sell, but that they're being required to minimize risk from the insurance side. And I think I wouldn't say it's validation, because unfortunately there's this reality behind all of that from what has happened over the last 12 months to 2 years that is really driving a lot of that.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, so cybersecurity, we checked that one off. Everybody can exhale and we can move on to maybe something else, because I know everyone is tired of hearing about it. However, it is critical and you got to make sure you have those things in place, and of course we can help. So let's talk about maybe something a little bit different. The work from home was something previous to March of 2019, but is now everywhere and discussed all the time. People are working, really wherever they want to be. Real estate prices are booming in Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, places where people once wanted to live but couldn't find jobs, and now can find jobs and live wherever they want. So as people are doing that, and as some are returning back to the office, and some may never return back to the office, how are mid-sized businesses looking to empower and enable those workers? And what technology and considerations are being made, and what's really next? I know we've been dealing with this, but what's next?
Yeah, I think everything that you just hit on is absolutely true. There is a substantial number of percentage of employees that are working from home and may never return. If you peruse job postings for large organizations in particular, especially in the tech industry, you will see positions available in Chicago and New York, and then you'll see a new category called remote or anywhere work, and you will be able to peruse a vast variety of jobs that companies are not requiring you to be in any particular place. And so I think that new freedom is an opportunity and a challenge, both for us as businesses and for the technology side of that, right? Because the business is just going to say to you, well, we need to be able to support this work from anywhere. And those people need to be just as productive. And so what do we do about that? And that's why we see Microsoft investing so heavily in remote work products, things like Autopilot to be able to just drop ship laptops and have them preset themselves up based on your Office 365 identity. The rise in the number of Intune and MDM projects that we've done recently, where we're helping the enterprise secure the edge and manage those devices that they previously kind of said, they can be unmanaged. They're just laptops. Now, really getting those locked down and having good understanding of those, and building processes around, both the deployment of those to new hires and the return of those devices when people move on from their roles. And then obviously the remote technologies, whether that be more secure VPN technologies that limit people's access to the right things that they need following that zero trust framework, or just breaking down that reliance on stuff back at the office and helping people re-platform their business into software as a service solutions, or taking the on-premise offerings that they have now and streaming those applications back out. So if it can't be re-platformed to SaaS, to help those clients that are struggling with how to enable hybrid work, take those legacy applications, put them into Azure, and leverage some of the new Azure Virtual Desktop technology to maybe not provide a full Azure Virtual Desktop, but take that application and just stream it out to those remote workers, so that those remote workers could start their day on a mobile device anywhere in the world that's being managed by Intune mobile device management, secured by multi-factor authentication, that they're able to run from web-based solutions, which require the least amount of IT support, and then that one legacy application being streamed to their desktop, not creating desktop confusion or another login, but really simplifying that environment. And Jeff, as you know, these are things that we're working on right here at Elevity and GFC. We have some tools that we need that are still thick clients and our team needs, and most of what we do is cloud-based. We have some admin staff that do rely on thick applications, and we're leveraging Azure in the cloud to stream those to make those employees more efficient. As you know, our admin group is not here all in Madison. Actually, very few are in Madison. They're spread around our offices around the Midwest. And so we really do follow our own guidance here and give people access to these tools from anywhere and have direct experience with this.
Yeah, and kind of to extend that conversation about how to start to distribute some of the workload, not only because workers are distributed, but because of the tools that are available to do that. Hyperconverged hit the market from our perspective 3 to 4 years ago, kind of in a heavy way, started to be adopted pretty regularly. And so we're now seeing clients who are have to make the decision whether Hyperconverged was right for them in the first place, and whether they want to invest in that on a kind of an upgrade or a replacement schedule at this point. And we're starting to see that happen. So why are you seeing businesses choosing to maybe invest initially in Hyperconverged based on some of those things you were talking about, and now to reinvest? What's changed with that technology, and what do you see emerging?
Yeah, I think that's been really interesting to see, right? We were early adopters of helping our customers understand the value of software-defined data centers, leveraging this technology called Hyperconverged, which again is just kind of using software to redefine the compute RAM and hard drives inside of servers, present that back like a virtual storage layer, so that you get all of the advantages of cloud, ease of use, self-healing, self-updating, web-based management, but you get the economics of a traditional data center environment with only one vendor to interact with. So that's why people made that move. People at the time, 3 and 4 years ago, were just making that change predominantly because the multi-vendors that they had to manage, the complexity associated with a storage fabric or a SAN, or the connectivity to the SAN. It's just more things to break and to worry about. And I think we see some technologies come and go. We see some technologies be very short cycles. We had kind of leaned in, and I had felt like converged infrastructures were going to be around even as people move to cloud. Really, movement to cloud is a belief that computing should be easier, management should take less time, so that IT can be focused on more strategic initiatives. And converged on-premise solutions just was cloud with the economics of premise. And so as we've gotten to those refresh rates, 0% of our clients that had made the move to hyperconverged are moving off of anything other than software defined. So they're either rebuying, maybe they chose one vendor initially because of hypervisor, and now they're realizing that they are really more agnostic and are looking at more hyperconverged vendors, and we're helping them continue to evaluate the winners of this market as that market continues to shift and grow. Because the traditional big iron companies that sold SANs, they had to double down on hyperconverged because they were losing to it. And so there has been some change and some shift in that space. And then some of those clients are certainly evaluating their hybrid strategy, right? How much could they re-platform enough to get to cloud? I think most of our clients that went software defined premise aren't making the move to cloud because they've already seen the benefits of cloud-like consumption without the cloud-like consumption bill, without the recurring every month invoice that has some fluctuation to it because it is consumption-based purchasing. So I think they've really enjoyed the economics. The technology's played out well. And now that we're doing the refresh, that project is very simple. We rack and stack the new nodes next to the old ones. The software-defined data center rebalances the workloads to those new systems, and we unrack the old gear and or move it to DR. There's lots of different creative technology management offerings we have to help leverage technology for as long as possible, and that investment as long as possible while maintaining and managing risk. But super encouraging to see all of our clients that adopted this continue to see the value of this technology. It really, I think, confirms what we see and what the market sees. The IDC and Forrester still see the predominant year-over-year growth Hager be in hyperconverged versus storage, which is in the decline.
Yeah, interesting. Lots of advancement and lots of opportunity, I think, for organizations to consider some of the new stuff either the first time or as a refresh. So the last topic, which I think is another big one that is going to really get some legs, is access to the internet, access to bandwidth, access to connectivity, and 5G starting to land in lots of different ways. So it's been out there for a while. It's kind of this big, lot of anticipation, a lot of hype. So as you start to see the 5G rollout, what are we seeing in terms of how that can have a business impact, and what are the positives, what are the negatives, what do our clients need to be thinking about as they evaluate kind of their next ISP decision?
Yeah, so 5G is here. As you get your Black Friday cell phone deal, your phone will say 5G. Listen to the words your cell phone carriers use, because they have trained their staff very well to be cautious of how they describe 5G to you. So they will tell you your current plan includes nationwide 5G, which is a fancy word for the same 4G you're used to. 5G premium, which will probably be in the plan above whatever plan you are currently on, unless you are one of those that just say, give me the latest, I don't care what it costs. That's only available near major metros, and that's true what we would call 5G. faster response time because they are using micro towers that are much closer, that give the enhanced bandwidth, that achieve speeds, up to and exceeding a gig. So if your phone says 5G and you do a speed test and it still comes back at 50 megs, that's because you are in the marketing version of 5G. You're still 4G. If you are in a major metro, you've paid the premium plan, you do a speed test and you get 500 megs down, you're in 5G premium, the true next generation ultra wideband technology. And that has rolled out. I mean, it's here in Madison, Wisconsin. I remember talking about 5G 2 years ago with AT&T at a conference, and the AT&T guy was kind of wishy-washy on whether he would commit to Madison being a big enough metro to justify the true ultra wideband 5G deployments and micro towers here in town. But that's not true. And now you get the bill, the infrastructure bill pushed through Congress that includes a lot for rural internet. And that's going to fuel more dollars going into more fiber in the ground, even as you go from big city to big city, the rural areas in between, and they're going to use 5G towers to do that. So you can go, get through T-Mobile or Verizon a $50 a month 5G internet that they'll pre-check whether you're in that premium zone, and you're talking about, 500 meg to 1 gig internet in places that couldn't do that before. And even in areas where there are wires, I don't know many people that are still paying a cable company for TV anymore. You got a batch of kids, and so do I. And if you asked our kids to change the channel, I think they'd look at us and say, "Dad, what's a channel?" So that's just where we are in technology. So I think 5G is still here. And last night, as we were out to a business dinner, I got a message from our team with a screenshot of a remote construction site location where we've set up a 5G router connected to a multitude of high definition cameras that are recording to the cloud. That kind of stuff couldn't be done before. High definition cameras recording to cloud all day long requires lots of bandwidth. That bandwidth isn't achievable in job sites. Well, it is. With 5G, it is. And with the routers that they make now that we can deploy in weatherproof boxes that even have little heaters in them for Wisconsin winters, we can set up highly connected, distributed environments for our customers, kind of regardless of what the bandwidth needs and what the technology use case is. So it is going to continue to be interesting. And the market as a whole is still very bullish on this concept of edge computing, which is getting computing down closer to where it's happening, like these high definition cameras that have hard drives in them. That's an example of edge computing, and only possible with 5G. You would never do that unless you were confident in the type of internet connectivity that could be available. So it'll be continuing to see how the Internet of Things and of business evolves using the technologies that are becoming more available.
All right. Well, great discussion. Wanted to encourage anyone, if they have questions, to feel free to submit those through the Q&A section, through the chat option here in this Teams meeting as we wrap up. But we can think about the things we've discovered or discussed. Cybersecurity clearly is something that has to be thought through, and additional investment will be needed by all organizations to meet their cybersecurity insurance requirements, number one, and just to generally protect themselves. As all things in security or advanced, notice get developed, whether it's fire extinguishers or alarm systems or, in-ceiling fire prevention kind of solutions. At one point, they weren't needed and they were thought of as a luxury, and today are required for insurance. If you take that analogy into the cyberspace, we're kind of at the beginning of, probably the end of the beginning of that transition, where those will be required for businesses to get the protection, and we're here to help. And then a whole bunch of other interesting new things that organizations are having to deal with and are faced with deciding on that are different than what they had to decide on the last time around. The last time around, maybe work from home wasn't even a thing, and distributed workloads of their technology and their applications wasn't necessary because they didn't work from home wasn't a thing, and it all has changed over the last several years, and a bunch of new things for all of you to consider as you're planning your budgets and as you're developing your technology roadmap, and what components need to be thought of and discussed. So appreciate everyone's time today. Thanks, Paul, for everything that you have delivered. the information that you've provided, the research that you've done to help educate and prepare everyone for what's to come. And as always, if we can help kind of navigate through these decisions and separate the important from the critical, we'd be happy to do that. Please reach out to any one of us to discuss that and set a meeting to talk further. We wish everyone a great and successful end of year 2021, and we will talk again soon. There are some exciting events coming up that I want to make sure that I remind everyone before I wrap up. We have our next coffee break is December 17th, talking about that technology roadmap and how to plan for the right decisions and the next big investments in your technology development, so we can help build that out. And there is also, it doesn't look like there's a slide, but there's a thought leadership event coming up that we always like to talk about. It's a little bit further out in January, where Paul will be kind of unveiling from his perspective the trends and the new things that are coming in 2022 with a little more detail, a little longer presentation. So be on the lookout for that. You can find all of our events at elevityit.com/events and can register for anything that is of interest. Leaving this last slide up to claim your coffee card for attending our coffee break. Scan that QR code or quickly enter in that URL to claim your coffee gift card for attending today. Paul, anything that I forgot, left out, misspoke about?
No, yeah, you hit it on the head. I just wanted to call out that, the thought leadership that'll come up on January 25th at 11 a.m. It's registration for it's on that elevityit.com/events. My favorite presentation to get ready for every year. We're going to touch base on what my predictions were last year and see if I got it right. And then there's always going to be brand new content there, not just going to be about hyperconverged or security there. It's going to be talking about what I see as the major trends in 2022 and beyond. And so I really push on kind of where future technology is going, but not just future like robots taking over our jobs, but realistic, what is going to happen in how will that impact your business. I think particularly relevant to our mid and enterprise size customers, always, good for everybody to just be aware of. I think it's has applicability regardless of size, but new technologies tend, like zero trust, like edge computing, they tend to start at the enterprise, go to mid-market, and then get broken down to our small business clients. So I think if you're joined us this morning and are from one of those large organizations, in particular, I think that's a good event to check out.
Great. And while I'm sure we'll get a note through email encouraging you to sign up, you can always go to elevityit.com/events to register. Great. Well, I want to take a minute again to thank everyone for attending. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you soon.